the lightning bolts.
Oh, no. Totally.
Okay, so we're going to back this up a minute and say, so you were standing at your door saying nothing will ever be the same.
Nothing will ever be the same again. And I said that, feeling it, but also knowing and saying it, that I was invoking the changes that I had just begun. I was standing literally at a threshold. I could either stay how I had been, or I could move forward. And seeing those lightning bolts on that key, it was kind of like, well, heck yeah, let's go forward. Let's make...
It's 1:30 in the morning.
1:30 in the morning.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Okay, so you went in and you put all those boxes up in the bookshelves?
Eventually, they were all put up. The rest of the house, there were other changes that were made. Mostly it had to do with putting things away, finishing projects that I had difficulty getting started or completing.
I think we started in your living room that morning before we ever went to IKEA for bookshelves.
Well, we started.
We moved the sofas and open blocks.
We did. And interestingly enough, although it was physical blocks that we were moving, each time we made a change, it was also a mental block that was being removed.
Well, I can remember how it felt so different.
I know. It's like I had the impression that living room furniture had to be in a living room. Well, if you really don't have the room to do that, how do you be a little more creative? How do you make it all a living space? When you have a great big room, as many apartments do, sometimes there's not a physical divider between the dining room and the living room. So let's make it all be something more than what it appears to be. And in doing so, it becomes so.
Right, because you changed your mind.
Exactly. I don't think anybody ever sat in the living room ever again. Everybody wanted to sit in the dining room, which now had the love seat in it.
And the twinkle lights in the tree.
And the twinkle lights in the tree. And it just totally changed everything.
And when you did that, you activated your knowledge and self-improvement.
Right.
And with the self-improvement activation, you couldn't not do self-improvement.
Right. And at that point, it also became, and I still laugh about this, I had to have all of these bookshelves to put all these books up. And then all of a sudden, I realized that I was no longer a student of history. I was meant to make history. So all of a sudden, these books, which had meant so very much to me because they defined who I was, also limited me and tied me to something that I no longer was.
You had been. You outgrew.
I had been. And still was. Just because the books were gone didn't mean I unlearned any of that.
That's true.
It didn't mean that I didn't have that information. Because I certainly had the knowledge of where to find those books again.
Right.
But holding on to them, some of them were very, they were not rare in the sense of there were only 2 or 3 available in the world. They were rare in that they were not widely available.
Right.
And so to put them back into circulation, as it were, to put them back out there available for other people who might be looking for them, expanded that knowledge.
And that tied to your marriage and relationship law. And we shifted your bedroom around.
Right.
And when I painted the accent wall in my apartment, you came home and painted an accent wall in your apartment.
Right. Knowing full well that the landlady was not going to be terribly pleased about it. At that point, again, it was an issue of nothing's ever going to be the same. It just became a matter of, with every change, the support that I felt was so real, so specific.
Tangible.
Not only tangible, but
palpable.
Desired. Palpable,
yeah.
Desired. And as I expanded it in my living space, I also expanded it in my office. and in my life in general.
So in your bedroom, when I kept telling you you had to have a headboard and you kept laughing at me? And then you got a headboard.
Yes. I had the opportunity to stay at someone else's home in a room that the bed had a headboard. Now, that was not the most comfortable place that I had ever stayed. And because it was so far out of town, it was a pet sitting issue, I would get up at 3 in the morning, come back to my apartment, crawl in bed for another hour, hour and a half nap. The first night that I did that, when I got back to my own bed thinking, oh, now I can rest, I'm like going, this is not as nice as I thought it would be. And then it dawned on me there was no headboard. So when I went back out the next night, I'm like going, okay, I'm going to pay attention to how this feels.
So you're doing margarita research
Absolutely. Live. And so when I get back home, I'm like going, yep, wasn't in the imagination. Yeah, I'm going to have to be finding that headboard.
And when you got the headboard, then what happened?
Everything changed.
Again.
But it always has changed for the better.
Yeah.
The changes have always been supportive. And
which is what headboards provide.
Right. And it became, the headboard itself became cozy. The room took on a whole new atmosphere. Just like having the bookshelves.
They supported you.
Right.
They took care of a need for you.
Yes.
They provided a place to be and a bit of protection.
Yes.
All good.
Absolutely.
All good stuff.
Absolutely.
So then we got your, opposite your wealth corner, which was where your office with all the bookshelves was your living room, which we had rearranged.
Mm-hmm.
And we had gone, when we got the bookshelves, we got a rug.
Yes.
And that rug had circles.
Yes.
The black rug with the
gold circles.
The gold circles. And then you eventually got a coffee table.
Yes, yes I did.
The same day you got this place, you got that coffee table. And the coffee table was metal.
Yes.
And you cleared out the closet that was over the stairwell up into your apartment and cleared the block from the bicycle in front of the closet into that space. Right. And started weeding out yarn and crafts and stuff that was in that closet and making actual room to move.
Right.
And I think that was about the time that the click happened between benefactors and wealth, to where you were then able to move forward.
I think so.
Away from the guy that you were working for when we met.
Right. It became about the time also that I realized that I was limiting myself by staying tied to a past belief about my education and opportunities. I began looking for other opportunities that would stretch and expand my options. And I found an amazing position that just was such a magnificent opportunity. A
big difference from a single man real estate law firm to, can you say?
A very large, the largest law firm in the United States.
A very large one.
Very, very large. Very large.
You'll be working for a lot of people.
A lot of people.
And so, as you did that, you decided it was time to move.
I did.
Because you were outgrowing the life there.
I was outgrowing the life there, and it became...
you were watching me move.
Well, I was watching you move, but I was also feeling that it was time to expand.
Right.
And there was limited room for expansion there.
Yeah, and it was getting worse.
Right.
With the personal situation of the owner and living downstairs, and you needed the freedom from that. It was time to move on to a more open professional situation where they're not in your business.
Right. Right.
So after watching my daughter and I create lists of what we were going to do for our move, lists of lists, and then following through with the lists, and then helping us as we accomplish the lists, you discovered how the power of intention could be brought down to a piece of paper.
Right. It wasn't just, let's go find someplace new to move to. It was, okay, if you were going to have the option of picking any place, what is it that you would want there to be? What are the qualities that you would want it to have? What are the characteristics? Where would you want it to be? What would you want it to look like? How many rooms do you want? And so
And with the caveat, the two caveats.
If money were no option and you knew that you couldn't fail, in other words, you were
all things were possible
bound to succeed because all things were possible.
Right.
What would you ask for? So I sat down with a yellow tablet.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. And wrote out a list.
This is the list. Now, you guys, look at this. This is the list.
This is the
list. The list.
The list. And interestingly enough, this is the first list I ever actually specifically sat down and wrote. So I knew that my lease was up, and there you go. And so I sat down and wrote this out. It was going to be up, and I had to give a 60-day notice. So I wanted it to be available by March 1st for occupancy. I wanted 2 bedrooms. I wanted 1.5 bathrooms if it was a 2-story apartment, thinking that it could possibly be an up and down townhouse type situation. I wanted a washer and dryer in my unit, hardwood floors, a deck or a courtyard type area in the front. I wanted it to face south with an east view. I enjoyed having the sun in the morning. The west sun's not always as pleasant in the south. I wanted an off-street assigned parking space. I wanted it to have a natural gas kitchen, central air and heat. I wanted pets to be okay. I wanted to be able to have a cat and a dog. I wanted to pay $1,000 or less a month rent, $1,200 being the maximum that I wanted to pay. So the maximum I felt comfortable paying at that time. I wanted to have a low deposit. I wanted it to be a fantastic neighborhood. I wanted quiet, professional neighbors. I wanted it near metro lines to my office, which by this point I did have my new job. I wanted it to be a professional landlord and or management and or maintenance personnel available for all of this facility. I wanted there to be large closets, a pantry, a true walk-in pantry. I wanted it to be okay to paint accent walls. I had gotten very attached to my red wall. I wanted there to be a fireplace. I wanted it to be a minimum of 1,000 square feet. Coming from 700 square feet, 1,000 sounded phenomenal. I wanted it to be located in Montrose, West University, or the Museum District. And those were the things that I wrote down.
And then you gave the list to the realtor.
Found a realtor.
And the realtor brought you here?
And the realtor brought me here. I moved in on March the 3rd. I not only have 2 bedrooms, I have an extra room for an office, so that I actually do have 2 true bedrooms. I have 1 bath, but although I'm on the 2nd floor, the whole unit is only 1 story, so I was okay with that. I do have a washer and dryer in my unit, which came with the unit. I do have hardwood floors, except where there is ceramic tile. I have a deck and access to a courtyard in the front, which is fenced for the dog that found me less than a week after I applied to have this place, and the same day that I found out that I was approved for this. Not only does this house face south, it faces all 4 directions. I have windows on all 4 sides and can see out of them unobstructed to all 4 of the directions.
So what's the one thing that you knowing about the list?
Mm-hmm.
I love it when you tell this story, that you got everything that's on the list, and had you known that you were going to actually get this stuff,
The one thing that I laugh every time it rains, I forgot to ask for a covered parking space. It would be nice to have a carport or something covered so that when I get in or out of the car, I'm not standing in the rain. But it's a very small issue. I do have to laugh at myself. The next time I have to make a list, I will be much more specific and include that.
So now Sheri is working on a new job.
Yes.
And guess what she's got? New
list.
Yet a new list. And she has got it on a piece of paper that is, swear to God, this big. Because she's going to really go for it this time. Mm-hmm. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I would encourage you to take the lesson of Sheri Anderson and the magic of the list. If you have something that you want and you know that you have chosen between A, B, and C, or 1, 2, and 3, and you can get very clear on what you want, she recommends that you handwrite the list rather than to key it in on your keyboard, and she recommends that you be aware that you are opening yourself up to new possibilities, and in a joyously playful manner, expect that this delivery is on its way to you. And as you do, you will stop arguing your limitations like, oh, I can't afford that, or that's too much for me to handle. You have to not worry about how anything happens. Just allow it and get out of your own way and let it happen in its own timeline. Unless one of the things you have on your list is that you need it by such and such a date, don't stress over when. It'll come when it's the right time. The last thing that she told me was that you have to believe that you are worthy and that you have to ask big, really big. Is that about it?
That's it. That's it. And sit back and know that it's coming to you with joyous anticipation because it truly is going to come.
I hope that you've enjoyed this video, sitting in Sheri's kitchen talking about the list. So I encourage you to make your list of what you want to bring into your life. Get very clear. Remember, money is no object and all things are possible. Here we go. Talk to you soon. Trisha Keel, Tomorrow's Key.